Man was created to worship. We all have this huge desire with us to give praise and honor to something or someone we consider bigger or greater than us. From the beginning of time, man has always found or created something that he gave his worship to. These idols or things we worship can either be conscious or unconscious to us. For others, their idols are unhidden and known to all, but for others, the secret idols of our hearts are hidden, unknown, and private. Whatever the case might be for you, it is important to reflect on these things that are at the center of our hearts, that we might align them to God's word and purpose for our lives. This sermon series on Counterfeit Gods will help us to put God at the center of our lives and not the idols that our hearts manufacture. Let us welcome Reverend Tim Thairo, the lead pastor at Fellowship Baptist Church Mombasa, as he begins this series for us. Karibu sana.
Praise the Lord. You're well? We completed the series and now we have begun a new series that is called Counterfeit Gods. That is called Counterfeit Gods. Something drawn from some work that a certain man by the name of Reverend Timothy Keller, who has a church, I think it's actually a Presbyterian church in New York. He's put together a book called Counterfeit Gods, which I am drawing a few thoughts for as we do this sermon series between now and 5th of December, the year 2021. 2001. That is like 20 years ago. So, but today we'll begin by introducing and helping us to be able to understand what idols are. And do we really worship idols? I don't know. We will look at that and see where we are on that whole spectrum. Now, we live in a culture and a time that is filled with idols. There's a big show called Idols. I know all of you are born again. You've never watched it. It's only me who's watched it. Idols. So there's a big show. It's called Idols. And idols, what is the whole concept of idols? The whole concept of idols is to find, the next big pop star, the next person who can sing or something, and put them up there. And, it's named Idols. I don't know how they landed on that name, how they, decided to call that show Idols, but it's Idols, it's big, and that. And maybe some of us, as we think of, the concept of idol worship, I don't know what comes to mind. But for many people, they would be maybe imagining some people worshiping some object, something that has been placed on a pedestal and people are worshiping it. Whether you consider that as primitive or those people, but those things do exist. And we've just had a lengthy reading of Acts 17, a time when Paul went to Athens. And he goes to this Greek city and he finds that the city is full of idols. Lots and lots of idols in this Greek city called Athens. There was one big idol that overshadowed all the idols. And I don't know if I pronounce it right. It was the Parthenon of Athena. And I put up a picture of it. It'll come, you will see. And they actually redid it and made it golden. Before it was not, it was just like soapstone white. But they put, it looks like that. It's a big idol in Athens, Greece. And people would worship it. And so, Paul walking through the city, he's seeing all these gods. And they even had this idol that, to the unknown God. And that was interesting for Paul. And that gave him a point of entry. Say, nice, this is good. It gives me a place that I can be able to come in, because if you have made the facility of putting facility for the unknown God, I believe I can be able to tell you more about that. But this was not the only God in Athens, Greece. It was the biggest idol that was there and people would worship, but there were different others. There was Aphrodite, the goddess of beauty and sensuality. And you can be able to check it out. All these things are there online. You can be able to check out the images. Of course, some of the images are very, sexually, stuff like that. But these are the images that were there that had been put up, and people would worship these images. If you are looking to, beauty, issues to do with beauty, issues to do with fertility or sexuality, there are these images or these gods that people would worship. If you are saying, you want a child, you would pray to the god of fertility and make sacrifices to the god of fertility, that god would bless you with a child. So there was Ares, the god of war. There was Artemis, the goddess of fertility and wealth. There was a guy called Hephaestus, the goddess of craftsmanship. And there were many, many, many other gods. And so the thing is, we are coming now from that whole world of Greece and the gods that they worshipped, and looking at us today. And the question is, are we very different from those people? Are we very different from them? And maybe we are not. Maybe we've just evolved. We've morphed. And maybe we do not have those idols or placed, in different areas. In the city of Athens, they were there. They were in street corners, in public places. And people would go and make sacrifices and pour out and leave something there for the gods and stuff like that. And we know that even in the African traditional cultures, there was that, and pouring of libation, for the gods, or even food that would be taken to a certain place, maybe in the forest and stuff, and this was for the gods, and there was all those kinds of things that happened. So our society today is not fundamentally different from these ancient ones. Each culture is dominated by its own set of idols. Each idol has its own priesthood. They have their own charms. They have their own rituals and rites that they perform. Now, each has its own shrine. Even in our cultures today, each god has its own shrine, its own temple, its own sanctuary, its own priest. And we will look at those. Today, maybe our careers are our gods. And our careers being our gods, we build nice big office towers. Having been in Nairobi this week, I noticed there's a new building just next to Times Towers. It's called CBK Pension House. It's a new building. It's practically empty. So even up there, to let. It's very interesting. It was very interesting for me. But one of those things that it stands out, aesthetically, it's a beautiful building. So since I was in that area a lot, on, it's called Harambee Avenue, where you have Harambee House, Office of the President, Office of the Deputy President, Sharia House. So that building is right there. And it's a beautiful building. It's, the architects who did it, they did a good job. Now, of course, they're struggling to get people to take up office space there. But this becomes places or sanctuaries where we worship, the gods of careers, excellence, and all that. I knew a man who was part of the team that designed the Times Towers, and he took a lot of pride in it. He's not with us anymore, but he took a lot of pride in the designing and the construction of Times Towers. And so these places becomes the shrines, the temples, the sanctuaries of modern day idol worship. We have also, maybe something that might be more common here in Mombasa, our spas and our gyms, our wellness centers. And we want to go there because we feel that there are people there who will take care of us, they will pamper us, and we will go. We have our studios for our artists. And they have these studios that they go and they record their music, and they say, this is where I wrote this song. And they become their temples. And their priests are the producers. When you listen to their songs, they first start by giving acknowledgement to Inibitia Clemo. That's the priest. That's their priest. Because he is the one, without that beat. And so, their studios, they become their places of worship. We also have, a big one for me, stadiums. Today, they have become places of worship. The big stadiums of Europe, they are places, they are the center of attraction of those cities. Me, I'm always watching United games, and there's a big banner in Old Trafford that says, football is our religion. Football is our religion. And that all these, those stadiums becomes the places of worship for all the fans to go and to sing. And they have their anthems and stuff, and we say, glory, glory. Amuko na mimi leo. Glory, glory, Man United. And what do? They put their hands on their chest and they put their fists out and they sing out. They are praising. They are in their temple. They are in their sanctuaries and they are praising their gods. And they have priests, right? Their priests are who? The football managers. Those are their priests because they believe in them. They believe in them. Just recently, the London Stadium belonging to Tottenham Hotspur, they have a new priest. And everybody's excited. Because this is their temple. This is their place of worship. This is where they spend their time. They spend their last coin. If you just know how much it costs to watch a game in those stadiums. And those stadiums have, big, crazy names. The Stadium of Porto is called the Estadio de Dragon. The Stadium of the Dragon, basically, is what it translates to. Atletico Madrid, their stadium is called the Wanda Metropolitano. It's a wonder. When you see it, it's a wonder. In Brazil, they have the Maracanã, and it's a big place. It's huge. And these places have become, the modern day shrines, the modern day temples where these people will go and worship their gods. They are priests. They are best players. And we are in this too. And that's our modern day thing. That we look at it and we say, maybe some of us were given to fitness. So the gym and your gym instructor, these days we have, personal trainer. And you have all these celebrities, they have personal trainers. And their personal trainers are their priests. Because they do exactly what they say. When the priest says this, you do it. He says no starch, no sugar. Because the priest has said it. Well, we won't call him the priest, but in this context, he refers to that. Women today may not be physically bound to Aphrodite, the goddess of beauty, but they are being driven into depression, into eating disorders, because they are obsessed by their body shape. They are obsessed by their image, how they look. They are obsessed by their skin complexion. You have to be lighter. If you're beautiful, you're lighter. If you're darker, then maybe you're not so beautiful. And so we have all this thing about kutoa tint and all that. Becoming lighter. Yet, when we think of Aphrodite, we're not thinking like we're bowing to Aphrodite, but what we do is no different from those who bowed before Aphrodite, the goddess of beauty. Because they are supposed to be beautiful. And this is something that has been there. Queen Esther came into power because there was a beautiful queen before her, who the king wanted to present her beauty, but she declined. So these are things that have been there. So, our women, our ladies are going through. On the other side, the men, on the other hand, they may not be burning incense to Artemis. Artemis is the god of wealth. They may not be burning incense to Artemis, but when money and career rise to very high proportions, we end up doing what is called, child sacrifice. Because we neglect our families, we neglect our children. We leave them to be able to spend more hours in the office, in the corporate office, so that we can be able to get the corner office, that we can be the CEO, we can be the COO, we can be, all those things. And so those offices, they become the shrines. And at times, what your boss says is more important than what your spouse back at home will say. Because it's important for you to be able to rise. And so we make this as they would make child sacrifices. We as fathers today are sacrificing time with our children for time at the office park, for time at the business park, for time at the golf park. Why? Because we are looking to get the next big deal. So we neglect our children, we neglect our families, we neglect our communities. Why? Because we want to be able to, unknowingly maybe, unconsciously, we serve these gods, but maybe it has never come to the fore. So they are the idols of the heart. I want to read Colossians 5. Colossians 3, verse 5. Slowly. Colossians 3, verse 5. There's something there that Paul says. He says this: put to death, therefore, whatever belongs to your earthly nature, sexual immorality, impurity, lust, evil desires, and greed, which is idolatry. Because of this, the wrath of God is coming. You used to walk in these ways. In the life you once lived. But now you must rid yourself of all such things as this: anger, rage, malice, slander, and filthy language from your lips. Paul in Colossians 3:5 wrote that greed is not just bad behavior. Greed is idolatry. Money, he advised, can take divine attributes in our lives if we allow it. And our relationship to it brings us to a place where we worship it and we pay homage to it. And we have to be careful. But unfortunately for us, many times when we think about greed, we don't think of ourselves. We think of people who are richer than us. People who are doing better. And we think they are the greedy ones. Money can become a spiritual addiction. And like all addictions, it hides its true proportions for its victims. It's only when one recovers from the addiction that they begin to ask the question, how did I fall so far back behind? How did this thing take me over? Because when you talk to people who are addicts of something, then they at times do not see it as a problem. See, it's just normal. It's only when they recover that they look back and they realize that they had gone way, way too far. Now, the Bible answer is that, it's only when one recovers from that addiction that he begins to ask the question, why did I act so irrationally? Why did we lose sight of what is right? And the Bible answers is that, what the Bible gives as an answer is that the heart of man is an idol factory. We create these idols from our heart. God says that the human heart takes good things. Good things like a successful career. It's not bad to have a successful career. You should have a successful career. As you look back into your life, you'll be able to look back and say, I had a successful career. I was able to make impact. I was able to make great gains for the community, for myself. It's good to have a successful career. Things like love. To be in a loving relationship, a family. Even material possessions, they are not bad in themselves. It's just what we make them to be. Even family can turn and we can make these things the ultimate thing. And our hearts glorify them as the thing that can give us significance. They can give us security. They can give us safety, fulfillment, if we are able to attain them. So if I am successful in my career, if I can attain that success, then mimi nimetoboa. Ndakuwa nimeweza. If I can find safety in these ultimate things, these things that God has given us, we turn them, we glorify them, and we make them the in thing, the thing that I want more than anything. And in our hearts, they become idols. They become the thing that we look to more. The success. The approval, maybe. The approval from our bosses. Just to hear your boss say, hey, this is the employee of the month. And you pat yourself on the back and you feel, yes, I have achieved. I have fulfilled. And the worst thing is that anything can become an idol. Because we could be easily fixated on the problem of greed. And we feel, me, I'm not greedy. We tend to realize that, maybe those rich people out there, those are the greedy ones. And, we look at all those politicians as they are going through those, what do you call them? The audits and looking at what they own and stuff. And you're like, hey, this guy has 200,000 chickens. Me, I don't even have one. He must be greedy. But greed is something that even us, we have. So, the fundamental truth is that anything can be an idol. And everything has been an idol at one point or the other. When you read Exodus chapter number 20, verse 3 there, it says that God says, I am the Lord your God, and you shall have no other gods besides me. You shall have no other gods beside me. Most people know that you can make, a good life to become a god. You can make money become a god. You can make entertainment become a god. You can make, the good things of life. And these things that these days we call, the soft life. They can become a god because we are living for them. I'm living to attain comfort. I am living to attain security. Financial security. We've seen it. I've seen it, people on YouTube saying, I'm retired at 40. I have all the money I need. Money is now working for me. And so my life is just being on holiday. And many people want that kind of life. They want to be able to rest easy, to enjoy a good life. And the thing is that we can easily get caught up in that. And we start pursuing it as the end game. That this is what I need. This is the best thing I can get out of life. Just to be able to have security. To be able to know that, it's okay, this house belongs to me, this is my car, I have investments here, I have investments there, and my life is comfortable. So I have made it. And so we can take all those things and make gods out of them. However, anything in life can serve as an idol, a god alternative, a counterfeit god. And it's especially these very best things in life. Poverty cannot be a god. Nobody wants to be poor. Nobody wants to be poor. When you go to places where poverty is at the extreme, all those people are thinking about, how can I get out of this? It's those good things of life. It's those things. And you hear people say, hey, I can get used to this. You go somewhere, you enjoy something and say, hey, this life is good. I can get used to this. I've never heard anybody say, I can get used to poverty. I've not come across people say that, I can get used to trouble or hardship in life. Everybody is looking to get out. And so we have to be very careful about some of these things that come in our lives. So the question is, what is an idol? What is an idol? It is anything more important to you than God. Anything that absorbs your heart and your imagination more than God. Anything you seek to give, anything you seek to give you, only what God can give you. That which you seek to give, only that which God can give you, you seek. A counterfeit God is anything so central and so essential to your life that should you lose it, your life would not be worth living. Your life would not be worth living if you are to lose it. An idol has such a controlling position in your heart that you spend most of your passion and your energy, your emotional and financial resources on it without thinking, without even a second thought. You will spend anything you have on it. It can be family. It can be career. It can be money making. And money making has been a big one. Achievements in life. Significance. Kutambulika, kujulikana, fame and fortune, power, a romantic relationship, peer approval, a certain skill that you have, and people recognize you because of that skill, and you are famous because of that skill. I've been in this world, and because of having worked a lot with worship teams. And these people who play instruments, they become celebrities because of, they play. And they play for these high-end bands and these big bands that are there. And so because of their ability to play, I know a certain guy in Nairobi, he's left-handed, plays the lead guitar. And he is mentioned in many, many songs because he's very good. He's very good. His skill is actually the only thing he does. I remember watching him at an Eric Wainaina concert because he plays in Eric Wainaina's band and many other bands. And so some skills that people have become an end goal for them. It's what they live for. Security in life and different forms of security. You know, you go to a place and maybe some of the questions that people ask, na hii place inakuanga safe? Hapa kuna wizi. Is there crime in this area? Nobody wants to live in an unplaced safe space. Like, and especially now, as we go into elections, we have like kind of hot zones in different areas. It says this area during election time is not very safe. So we're looking at security, be it financial, be it relational security, be it, security of the neighborhood, whatever it is. It could be beauty. And these days it's a big thing to be beautiful. I read a meme the other day that the lady who is beautiful has more confidence than the one who has a degree. And that by they have translated it. I can't tell you the way it was written. But the beautiful lady has more confidence and can open more doors than the one who is qualified and has a degree. Because beauty has become an end goal. There are jobs these days that people are hired because of urembo. See, not skills, urembo. Brains. These days, we have special space for nerds, These people we call nerds. Computer gurus and, because they have risen to a place whereby with their tapping on the keyboard, they can control our lives. So they are raised to a particular space. Politics, a social cause, morality, virtue, even legacy. It can be something, it can become a counterfeit God. Right now, I know, maybe the president is wondering, my term is coming to an end. What kind of legacy do I leave behind? Even for us, successful Christian ministry can become a counterfeit God. Because it is the success of my church. And it has been said before that there are churches whereby if God was to withdraw the Holy Spirit, those pastors in there would not even notice. They would not notice that God has withdrawn the Holy Spirit. Because it's about them. It's about their success. So even Christian ministry can become a counterfeit God if we are not careful. If anything becomes more important than God to your happiness and meaning in life and identity, then it is at that bracket that we call an idol. And there are different types of idols. The biblical concept of idolatry is an extremely sophisticated idea, integrating both intellectual, psychological, social, cultural, and even spiritual categories. I want to give us three, very briefly. There are personal idols. Personal idols are those things like, power, success, careers, family. There are people who are saying, the thing I just want to marry. Nataka tu kuoa. Everybody in my age bracket, all my peers are married. Nataka tu kuoa. And so their thing is just to get a family. And at times for them it doesn't even matter. And you see it, they even sing, It's even sung in songs. There's this guy called who? It's called who? He sang this song about, huyu ako na wake, na mimi. It's called who? It's called this guy. You know him. He was in gospel, now he's transitioned. Willie Paul. Yes, Willie Paul. Mnajua. Willie Paul, he has this big thing of trying to, he wants to just marry because he's saying, huyu ulimpea wake. And it's not only Willie Paul who is thinking like that. There are many people who are thinking like that. But Willie Paul is an artist. And what artists do is that they bring out the thoughts of the community. They bring out what you are thinking about. They put it in a song and they sing it. And why that song hits is because you are also feeling the same thing. And that's why it becomes a hit. And say, even me, God, hata mimi naimba hiyo wimbo na Willy Paul. Because even me nataka wangu. So these are personal idols. They can become personal idols because this is what you want to achieve. Social standing in community. Unataka utambulike. Ukitembea hivi, watu ni MCA. Utambulike, ujulikane. Health and fitness. Some of us, we are like, hey, hii kitambi lazima iende. So it becomes something that we pursue to the very end. Cultural idols are there. Cultural idols are like military power, technological progress, and economic prosperity. Those are cultural idols. Today, there's a very big debate about issues of military power. Military power. And it touches on what? It touches on what? It touches on atomic power. Atomic bombs and nuclear bombs. Nyi mko nayo? You as Kenyans. Nyi hamwezi ongea. You can't speak in that debate. But there is an ongoing conversation about nuclear power with superpowers. Because they are developing them, right? And there is a trying to ensure that these things are not in use. But there are superpowers who are like, Ebu, just chokoza uone. We will blow you out of here. And so they have that as an idol, a cultural idol, that we have military strength. Do not forget we have 1 billion soldiers. Who says that? Amjui? Google is your friend. Technological progress. Sahi hapa tunajigamba na M-Pesa. It's technological process, Me, I want us to be proud the day we can vote on our phones. That I do not have to go to any polling station. I vote from my phone. I just vote. I wake up, or even in my bed, I just vote for my MP, vote for nani. That would be technological progress. That I don't have to go to a polling station. I can just vote online. And there are people who do that, right? Those things do happen. So there are those who take pride in those cultural idols that they are. Or economies, economic power. It means, we are stronger than you. Our currency is stronger than yours. We always like to take a beating with our Ugandan friends, And say like, ukienda Uganda unaenda na gunia, because when you change the money it becomes so much, So you carry your money in a sack, And we take pride in that. It's a cultural thing, a cultural idol, because we feel we are stronger than they are. They are also intellectual idols. So they are personal idols, they are cultural idols, they are also intellectual idols. Intellectual idols are often called ideologies. Ideologies. This is a war of ideologies. Where idea yako ni gani? Where your idea yako hatuitambui. We, as in your idea is, we poke holes in your idea. There is political ideology. Now, what is the biggest political ideology we have now? Bottom up, it's a political economic ideology. Whether it is true, economists like my wife here wanasema hii kitu ni nonsense. People who've done economics, they say there's nothing like that. Hizi ni story tunapewa. But there is all this, that economics or political ideology, that this is the ideology of this political group, and this is what we believe, this is what we will do, this is how we will empower the citizens and all that. And those are political ideology. In my beloved football, we have what we call tactical ideology. Tactical ideology. We need, our priest at Old Trafford needs to go, because tactically we feel awezi. Now we are thinking only of, a tactical manager. Somebody who can be able to deploy these tactics and win this game, playing these players, doing this. There's a lot of science in football, It's how do you play with these players, and those now become the people who we look at and say, this is a proper manager, top class manager. Why? Because of his tactics. It's an ideology. It's a way of thinking. And there are people who cannot think like that. Even when you give them, they know, but they cannot think like that. And so we take these things and we glorify these people who have ideologies that are stronger or superior than ours. And so these are types of idols. The Bible uses 3 basic metaphors to describe how people relate to idols. 1, you love idols. 2, you trust idols. 3, you obey idols. You love your idol, you trust your idol, you obey your idol. The Bible sometimes speaks of idols using the marital metaphor. Yani ndoa, a marriage, like a marriage. And God says, I am the true spouse. I am your true spouse. And when you leave me and you go to others, you're committing spiritual adultery. And God would punish the Israelites for doing this. He says, I am your God, but you have gone to others and you've worshipped the gods of Baal. But I am your true spouse. And at the end, that's what I want us to do. That to be able to see that God is our true God. He is our true spouse. And that we do not need to substitute him with anything else. Idols capture our imagination, and we can locate them by looking at our daydreams. What do you daydream about? United winning the league. What do you daydream about? What do you daydream about? You will be able to see your idols through your daydreams. Idols give us a sense of being in control, and we can locate them by looking at our nightmares. I have a nightmare. A nightmare is that thing you fear most. What do you fear most? Maybe you lose that job. You lose that corner office. It's a thing that you fear. And so you will do anything that the boss will say so that you just do not have to live your nightmare. Which your nightmare is to lose your job or to lose your residence where you live and you feel it's a posh area, it's a nice place and all that. And so you live under that nightmare, that fear, that great fear that if I lose this thing, my life is gone. And you feel that my life would not be worth living if I lose that which I treasure the most. If I lose that which I treasure the most, my life would not be worth living. And that is a nightmare. That is a nightmare. So we need to be able to look at both our daydreams, the things that we imagine and we fantasize and say, I wish this were the case. As opposed to the things that scare us. They scare the living daylights out of us. And you're looking and saying, wow, that would be the worst day of my life if this were to happen. If I lose my job, if I lose my family, if I lose this, all those things, if I lose my car, if I lose this, if I lose this, that would be the worst thing. Because we love our idols, we trust our idols, we obey our idols. But there's an opportunity here today. There's an opportunity to be free of these idols. There's an opportunity to be free. Right now, currently, we are experiencing global economic shambles. And many of those idols that we have worshipped over the years are coming crashing down on us. In this COVID pandemic season, we had never imagined that we would be forced to stay home, forced not to go to work, not going to church, and people losing their jobs, people being put on half-life in terms of their pay and all that. And there's this economic crash that's happening not only here, but across the world. And this is a great opportunity where we can briefly experience release from some of the spells that have bound us for so long. That we can say, God, give us another way, give us another alternative, give us something else, that we do not have to depend on these things. When I went to Nyeri, I felt so good. Why? Because I had a few shillings in my pocket, but I didn't need to spend them. God took care of me. That wherever I went, Verol picked me up. Actually, the pastor of, it's called Berea Baptist Church, he sends greetings. His name is Pastor Paul Mbogo. picked me up on that Monday when I arrived. We went to his pastor's house where he goes to church when he's in Nyeri. It's called Berea Baptist Church. We had dinner at the pastor's house. It's very gracious, very friendly. We went back to his office where we took a few pictures over there. We prayed and it was a good time. And so, wherever I needed to go, Verol took me, and it was very, very, very easy. And to just be able to trust God for the things that we need, that we do not have to depend on some of the things that we have put in our heart. And so the way forward out of this despair is to discern the idols of our hearts and our culture. But that will not be enough. We have to free ourselves from the destructive influence of counterfeit gods by turning back to the one true God, the living God who revealed himself at Mount Sinai. And he gave the commandments to Moses and said, "You shall have no other God apart from me." And at the cross of Calvary, where Christ says, "It is now finished." And if we find him, he can truly fulfill us. And if we find him, he is the only one who can give us true forgiveness. True forgiveness. And so, as we get into, this next set of sermons, we have the poster that will be posted on the group, on our church group. We'll share it on our, statuses. And you can be able to take that poster and share it with your friends and make sure that you come. And the whole point of this sermon is for us to be able to reflect, to introspect, to say, God, what is in my heart? Excuse me. What have I put before you? And then begin a process of changing those things around. Because we will all enjoy some fine dining. We will all enjoy a good time to go on holiday and all those things. And to have a good life. But that is not the end. That is not all we need to be living for. That we can live for God. So it's time to reflect, to introspect, to ask God to help us turn things around. And so the message for us today is that we're all struggling with what is at the center. And the worship team today, I felt they chose some very good songs for this sermon. That Jesus be the center of my life. Jesus be the center of our church. Jesus be the center of all that we have. That we can be able to refocus. So I'm not here to condemn you. As if you feel, you struggle with this, that, or the other. But it is to look at the counterfeit God of money. Because it is there. And all of us, will oscillate in times where, I wish I had just 1,000 more. I could have been in a better place. And so looking at the counterfeit God of money and, taking our hope from money and putting it back to God. Looking at the counterfeit God of pleasure and taking that God back to God and say, God, satisfy me. And looking at, power. We're getting into a political time. And for me, politics, usually for these people who've been in politics a long time, it's not about money for them. It's more about power. Being able to control. If you're following things that happen in the media, there's a governor somewhere said, I can destroy your life. That's power. That's power, right? I can do whatever I want. It's not about money, it's about power. I can run over the systems. Hakuna mtu atanishika. And that is power. And so there's that counterfeit God of power that we need to look at as well. And at the end of the day, look at what is the only hope that matters. So we look at those in the weeks that are to come. I hope and pray that you'll be able to make time to come. Not only you, but your friends, your family. Invite them that they will come and be with us. The poster is on our notice board over there. You can take a picture of it if you'd like and share it with friends and family. So today was just to be able to introduce to us some of those things, some of those concepts, and to be able to have a time of defining and looking in us as we look to go into money, pleasure, and power, and finally turning our attention back to God. So let's pray together even as we come to the end of our service. Our God, we thank you. We thank you because You have created us and you have put in us a God-shaped hole that we can only fill with you. Many times we want to fill it with many different things that we have come across in the journey of life. So Lord, help us to be able to take away those things and in our God-shaped hole, continue to put in more and more of you. That as we put in more and more of you, we will continue to live a life that glorifies and honors you, and to be able to reflect the glory of God. Forgive us for times that we have taken some of these good things in life that you have given us and made them the ultimate thing that we want to live for, the thing that we want to be known about. Help us to be able to be people who trust in you, people who will want to be known as believers in Jesus Christ, people who are depending on God to come and to complete our time together with you. So we thank you. We thank you even for the next weeks that are coming. As we go step by step, help us to be able to learn more and more what you say about money and how we can use money to glorify you rather than to make it a God in our lives. So go ahead of us and bless us. As we go into this week, Lord, I pray that in every way you will go ahead of us and that you will make a way even where there seems to be no way. Thank you for everything that you have done for us. Continue to be a blessing for us, both now and forevermore. In Jesus' name we do pray. Amen.
Thank you for listening to this sermon today. Keep checking this platform for more encouraging and inspiring messages from our preaching team here at Fellowship Baptist Church. Kindly do share these sermons with friends and family. God bless you greatly.